A very, very warm welcome, Dr. Sanjay Arora.
I'm super excited to be here. I hope that adds value to people who listen to both of us.
You just make it sound so simple.
It's not.
You're impulsive.
You're seeing a very different side of me today. See, the kind of work that we do, right, at Suburban, there's no room for error. I mean, it's somebody's life is at stake.
How have you stayed clear of any kind of tragedy?
Before starting Suburban, this is my life in Grant Medical College in JJ Hospital. As a pathologist, you are expected to do postmortems. So I must have done 700, 800, 900 postmortems. I lost count. For us, it was just another part of our job.
Do these overwhelming stories get into your head and make you feel like Apunish Bhagwan hai?
Every story is a celebration for me. It's a personal victory that I did my job well. And because you're doing that, it gives you a fresh source of inspiration. So, inspiration, perspiration, dedication is the world of technology. If you don't innovate, you'll get run over easily. And if you do innovation with people, you do collaboration. If you do these steps, you will end up with some element of celebration. And every celebration gives you a fresh cycle of inspiration. So rather than it making me feel I'm too good, it gives me a fresh source of inspiration. How can I do things even better tomorrow?
Have you, in the initial phase, had a mind block, so to say, that you may hire someone, but then have a mind block because that is, in a way, criticizing you and your so-called best practices? Did you have any reservation? Who is the one who kind of motivated you to get into, say, the valuation game? Tell me a little more about elder care. I'm really curious.
Everybody says, live long. I'm saying live well. However long you live, continue to live better. And that is my objective of elder care.
How much of using of data helped you understand how to go through this entire process of scaling your business and eventually getting the valuation that everyone can only dream of? 950 crores. My guest on the podcast today is a visionary with the most humble beginnings. From one pathology center to more than 250 in a span of 30 years. From 2-member team to more than 1,000. Here is a man who probably on paper may be valued at 950 crores, but the lessons that he has given me through this podcast is worth so much more. Systems is one part that our Indian event industry tends to take very lightly. Here's a man who can actually show you the path of how to beautifully merge human and technology, how to stay absolutely relevant and keep innovating and truly believe in that one statement that the show must go on. Ladies and gentlemen, listen up and watch as I chat with none other than the founder of Suburban Diagnostics, Dr. Sanjay Arora. A very, very warm welcome, Dr. Sanjay Arora. I have to tell you, it's a huge honor for me that I'm getting to share this space with you, and I'm going to get to listen to so much from you. When I started with this entire podcast, I had you in my first list, and then Hemant and me felt that I should be better prepared before I invite you.
Oh my God.
On the podcast.
Wow.
So, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Mareesha. I think I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah.
You are more than friends, and you are a family to me. I mean, both you and Hemant. As I have always maintained that you guys have given me the 7 best days of my life, conducting the 2 weddings for both my daughters, and it just means the world to Anju and me.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I'm able to be here with you today and share my thoughts and my journey. And I hope that adds value to people who listen to both of us today.
Tremendously. I'm sure it will. And I have to go back to recount our first interaction when all I knew of you is Suburban Diagnostics. And I have to tell you this, I was very nervous. I still remember it was a Zoom meeting when we had a first interaction.
I thought we met
formal.
in person, nahin?
No, you were traveling for a wedding in Bangalore with ma'am. And that was the first interaction we had. And then we had come and met you.
Okay.
The first round of, it was
sure.
almost like an audition that we gave. Like, are we approving, of the planner for the first round? Then we'll call you for the second.
No, the fact that you came through Yogesh, I guess
Yeah.
that nervousness should have gone out of the window, because when
Yes.
Yogesh recommends,
Yeah.
it's with a stamp of authority, I guess. in that sense.
Totally. But I remember I was a lot in awe, and there was a lot of mental pressure. I felt that I was speaking to somebody who has really made their mark and proven themselves. And as we interacted with you, we saw a very different side to you, and it helped me understand that probably the reason why somebody succeeds and excels in life and as a human being, there's a lot more that goes into making that person. And I was so intrigued to keep discovering that side to you every time I met you. It changed a lot, I'll say, in the most subtle ways. And I think every individual is a very fortunate one if they get to interact with achievers who are accessible, because otherwise we end up listening to the glory stories. And then it's very, very rare that we get the opportunity to meet, interact, and see the human side and understand that, okay, this is as believable and as real as it can get.
No, we are all the same. There's no difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's lucky in a way that we are meeting at this stage of my life. And I've evolved for the 30 years that I ran, Suburban Diagnostics.
Yeah.
I have evolved as an individual. I was not this way, perhaps very early on. And if you meet people in my team who have been with me from day one, in fact, they talk of about those days and they talk of how I am today. And I have sort of evolved as an individual significantly. And maybe we'll discuss that how I was and what I am now.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been a gradual evolution. I'm hoping for the better. Become a lot more patient than I used to be. I listen a lot more than I speak, which is very important.
Which is very important.
And, you mentioned about being in awe.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that no matter at what stage you are in life, you are accessible to people. For me, human connections perhaps are the most important aspect of where I am, why I am today. It's all because of human connections and relationships. And maybe we'll, touch upon that as we go along. But that for me is most important. And, we'll maybe peel the onion around relationships, how that has evolved for me and remaining accessible to people. So much so that my mother used to tell me, मैं तेरी पेशेंट अगर होंगी ना तो मेरे से बहुत अच्छे से बात करेगा. अगर मैं तेरी माँ हूं ना तो मेरे को तो you take me for granted then. So she would say that, I'll come to you as a patient, perhaps you'll talk to me better. So I was very different when I was at work, very different when I'm at home. And over a period of time, I realized that that's not the right way.
And when you say you have evolved over these years, and you also mentioned that you've got more patient, do you feel that in a way also means that you probably have given up on people and thus you become patient कि चलो इनसे ये इतना ही हो पाएगा? And does that mean you've compromised on certain things, or does that just mean you've matured?
Exactly the opposite.
Yeah?
Exactly the opposite. I think when you are patient with people, you give them an opportunity. You give them a higher latitude for opportunity. See, nobody is perfect, right? I am not perfect. You are not perfect. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses.
True.
Now you want to highlight somebody's weaknesses more than their strengths. That's a choice that you have. You want to highlight their strengths more than the weakness. That's a choice that you have. By being more patient, I think you're allowing for the strengths to be visible a lot more. And you're giving yourself and that person time to overcome the weaknesses. By being impatient, what you're trying to do is you're only clinging onto the weaknesses and you are suppressing the strengths. I think that's what I used to do earlier.
Yeah.
I would only find what is wrong, not what is right.
Oh my God.
I still try and do that.
Yeah.
Simple example, right? You are running an organization, I'm running an organization, and you have to do what you call as a performance appraisal, annual performance appraisal.
Yes.
I make it a point now to write down what are this person's achievements over the year. And then I will start with, this is the good things that you did over the last 1 year. And these are the things which you could have done better. Instead of just saying, you are useless and this is what happened. But what about the good?
Good.
You forget that.
Yes.
So I think that's what has happened. When I evolved, I'm probably giving people more time.
And tell me, when we do, like you said, analysis, I also do something called SWOT with the team. So definitely I'm happy to highlight the strengths, but somehow there are me and many such entrepreneurs like myself who end up overindulging with the weakness of that particular individual. And we are doing it with a good thought, a positive thought that I want to change. How can this person not get it right? Let me take that onus and let me try to mold the person. And I've seen many times we fail in spite of making the effort with a good intent. And then there are those who believe in accepting you as an individual and have the worldly things to say that, you should let every person be the way they are and don't try to mold them into what you do. What is your take?
No. I don't agree with that. I think as the founder, as the leader, as somebody who's more experienced, as somebody senior, you have a role to play in molding the thoughts and actions of people that work with you. And I keep telling people that if I don't give you feedback, that I'm not doing my role as your senior or somebody who's seen a lot more of this than you. So I think that is unacceptable, that you are not adding value to people. And giving feedback is adding value. How you give feedback is important.
Interesting.
So you and me are doing a performance appraisal and I find these things are great, but 2 things were not good. I can ask you, so Mareesha, I think these 2 things, do you think you would have, how else would you want to do this?
Wow.
This is perhaps, we did this, but is there another way to do this? Could you have done it differently? Very often, we are not creating the right environment for the person to succeed. So you have ended up promoting somebody. Promotion generally means you're acknowledging that person for their good work.
Right.
But then you realize after you promoted that person, the person was not as effective as he or she was before the promotion.
Yes.
And then you ask yourself, why did I promote this person?
True.
So for me, it comes down to 2 things. Do you have the right processes for success? Does the organization have the right processes to enable the success for that individual? Do you have the right training? Do you have the right SOPs? Then only you can tell the person was wrongly selected. If the person is right, ask yourself that did I create the right environment for that person to succeed? So very often we will promote an individual performer to a team leader.
Yeah.
Team leader means managing people.
Yes.
Did you train that person to learn how to manage people? Did you equip that person to learn how to manage people? You are just saying, from today you manage 3 people. Until now you were one of those 3 and now you have to manage 3.
Interesting.
But was that person trained?
Ready.
Did you create that environment for that person to succeed? So if something goes wrong, I ask myself the first thing, was my onboarding correct? Did I select the right person for the right role? Now, if Hemant was given a creative role, he may not, I mean, he's a great guy, but he won't fit into a creative role as much as you will fit in. Hemant succeeds in the macro picture, creating, processes and delegating really well. He's left the creative side to you. But if you flip it around and you did his job and he did yours, both are individually great, but not the right fit for the role. So first is getting the right fit for the role. Then making sure you have the right SOPs, you have the right training to make sure that that person in that position succeeds. Then it could be, yes, sometimes you do make a wrong choice in promoting or hiring. But first, don't straight away saying, no, this person is bad. Look at what ecosystem you're building around allowing that person to succeed. We don't do that. We don't equip our team as much as we should.
Yes.
And then we don't walk the talk with them, so to say. Have a one-on-one once a week. We wait for an appraisal once a year.
Yeah.
Appraisal this is, I think, an outdated concept. It should be an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Have a conversation over lunch. Just go out for a casual coffee and just engage in dialogue.
Yeah.
Appreciate in public, give feedback only in private.
That is one lesson
Very, very
I
important.
have learned from you.
Yes.
I have actually implemented it at least 8 out of 10 times. And I feel a little more relaxed having done that, because otherwise you're so guilt-ridden about having criticized someone in public. So I remember you sharing this and giving me this advice, and I implemented it immediately, and I've tried to stick to it. And I actually feel that it has had a more positive impact on any individual.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they're more open to receiving feedback when it's given on a one-on-one or on a personal chat rather than a WhatsApp group.
Absolutely. No, never on WhatsApp.
But it is so, it's our world is such, Doc. What can we do? I think we're slaves.
Make
of
note
technology.
make note of the incident. So it's very important that you make notes. And I think giving examples will allow you to relate to the incident much better with the person than just talking generically.
Okay.
So make a note. Keep a notebook. Use your phone to make notes rather than using a phone to give feedback. And when you have an opportunity, okay, Harsh, let's talk on Monday. We'll spend half an hour together on Monday. That's it, and leave it at that. On Monday, Harsh, these are 3 things I noticed. Tell me, what do you think we could have done differently?
Oh my! Do you think that also empowers the team by us giving them that choice to first speak up and analyze their own work?
Absolutely. I think we are always in a solution mode. Why didn't you do this? You should have done it like this. Let the person think for themselves. I think that's the important part of grooming a team.
Yeah.
Allowing them to think for themselves.
True.
And then you're adding value that, no, I think what you're saying is right, but you can also do this.
Yes.
Or you could have thought it like this. But give them an opportunity to first think about it, right? That's how you build the capabilities in the person, that could you have done this differently? That's all.
This is excellent. And you just make it sound so simple.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. In the heat of the moment, and that's what I'm telling you, evolve, right? I was not like this.
You're impulsive?
Oh, I mean, you have no idea. That's why I'm saying you're seeing a very different side of me today. See, the kind of work that we do, right, at Suburban, there's no room for error.
Oh, yes.
Right? I mean, somebody's life is at stake.
True.
I mean, I'm not proud to say, but I've made many people cry. And then I am reflecting to myself, is that my role? Really? Not to humiliate or not to put people down,
True.
but to ensure we give the best quality results to our patients. Just because I am the founder and the owner of the company, I have the power to do what I want. Doesn't mean I need to do it.
Oh my God.
That is important. And the first HR consultant who came on board, Mr. Vijay Mahajan, and I call it Mr. Vijay Mahajan's Pearls of Wisdom. He sat me down and he told me this, Sanjay, just because you're the owner of the company doesn't mean you have to behave like one.
Oh my God.
That's it. That's it. That's all he said. You have the power to do whatever you want. You can even tell me, I am older and more experienced than you. You can tell me get out and I'll get out. But doesn't mean you have to do it. So what I learned is that if you're right, you don't need to shout. If you're wrong, you don't deserve to shout. That's it. It's as simple as that.
How do you keep your mind so open to consuming and taking in suggestions of consultants and external forces? Have you, in the initial phase, had a mind block, so to say, that you may hire someone, but then have a mind block because that is, in a way, criticizing you and your so-called best practices? Did you have any reservation?
So I think if I was to come and tell you, Mareesha, this setup is not great, I don't like this color, or I think this creatively doesn't look good. I think you're very much in your right to tell me, look, doc, I think, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is my area of expertise. You're right, because that is your area of strength.
Yeah.
But if I was to tell you, your P&L, your MIS needs to look like this, or you need to do performance appraisal like this, because I've done it longer than you, you'd be open to taking feedback. So also depends what kind of feedback, on what topic do you want to give feedback. Sometimes just giving feedback for the sake of it doesn't mean that it's good feedback, right?
Interesting.
So if somebody came and told me that I know what you're doing behind the microscope, you can do it better. I think that is something which I know. Let me take care of that. Other things which are not my core area of expertise, right?
Right.
I'm always willing to listen and learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you are good at, you don't want to have people walk all over you either.
Yeah.
Then they'll say, he or she, they don't have a spine. वो तो सबकी सुनते हैं. Whatever you say, they are malleable. No. It's not like that. I'm listening, but I also know where I need to draw a line. And it's important for people to know that also, that you are accessible, you are patient, you will listen, but you will also form an opinion on what is right and what is wrong. And that is important. So being accessible does not mean you are a carpet that people can walk all over. The difference between the two. You have to obviously impose yourself.
Right.
For the right reasons. Like I said, I don't think anybody can show you a candle when it comes to creative way.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some aspects of running an enterprise. Yeah, absolutely. You would be open to listening to it. Why not?
Of course.
I'm not perfect. So if somebody came and told me, this is what I think.
Yeah.
If I believe that there is value in it, absolutely I'll listen to it. No problem at all.
And when it comes to business, when it comes to scaling up, I'd seen this in one of your interviews, that when you started Suburban Diagnostics, I think in 1994, you complete 30 years now. And you opened your second branch only 10 years after having run this. 10 years is a very patient game when you're doing so well. And I'm sure there are external forces trying to influence you. Hey, why don't you go ahead? And giving you the confidence that you would be doing the right thing. How does a business runner understand when is it the right time?
Oh, great question. And difficult answer. See, at heart, no, I'm a doctor. I'm a medical practitioner. I never built Suburban Diagnostics as a business venture, so to say. I ran it like a practice. I would meet every patient myself. I enjoyed interacting with every patient. I enjoyed picking up the phone and explaining reports to doctors.
Yeah.
I enjoyed hiring new equipment, getting new people on board. So I enjoyed all that aspect. The other part was that I had never run a business. It was my first so-called job, so to say. So I was learning so much on the job. In fact, I'm writing a newsletter about this on LinkedIn. As a founder, sometimes we just become so self-obsessed.
Hmm.
I know everything. Uh, Nobody can do it better than me.
Hmm.
And you're probably right.
Hmm.
Nobody could have thought about Apple the way Steve Jobs thought about it.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs, whatever you've read, was not a easy person to work with. But there is a reason why Apple is where it is today.
Hmm.
Uh, I think I probably took a little more time than I needed to in building a team uh, of adding value to my core function, which was medical testing,
Hmm.
but not focusing enough on the support functions,
Okay.
sales, marketing, finance, IT, HR, purchase. These are all equally important as your core businesses, right? I was so self-obsessed in testing that I didn't think of it like that. And that's perhaps why I didn't build a team for the longest period of time. Anju and I ran it,
Run it.
like our own, which is not wrong.
Sure.
But if you have growth and scale in mind,
Hmm.
you can't do it alone. So it's very important that you realize that what are your strengths and how do you complement your weaknesses by hiring for people who are better than you in those areas of weaknesses.
Amazing.
And that is important, that you are strong in this.
Yeah.
You have your strength lies in an overarching vision that you have for your enterprise, which no individual will be able to. That passion that you come with,
Yeah.
that is important. But then you complement your weaknesses by hiring people or getting people on board who complement your strength with their strengths against your weaknesses. And that's how you build a team that will scale up faster. So perhaps I could have done this earlier had I thought about it in hindsight.
Sure.
It's all, you're all
Always.
perfect vision in hindsight. And that's the objective, I guess, of this podcast as well, is to let people realize that you don't need to. The other thing important today is another lesson I learned from a good friend is that whenever we have faced with an issue, we throw people at the issue. Today, the idea is throw technology at the issue first. Today, you've got technology.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have read about the Nobel Prize. Half of people who have won the Nobel Prize is related to AI, artificial intelligence. Whether it's, there are different aspects of whether physics, chemistry, economics, and all. I've not got the exact details, but I was reading an article which says the role of AI in how it's impacting even Nobel Prizes and how people who are winning Nobel Prizes are using the benefit of AI at that level. Why don't we use that? Why don't, so instead of throwing people to a problem, first throw technology to a problem and then see how you want to address it. So in some way or the other, every organization today must leverage technology. And if you leverage technology effectively, I think your ability to scale, your ability to manage growth, your ability to look at data, your ability to make informed decisions becomes that much better, and your then ability to scale also becomes better. So we still don't think about it that much.
Yes,
That
we
how do
don't.
we throw technology, to a problem, or how do we let it solve a problem with technology rather than solving it with people?
Yeah. I think most individuals today are by far more consumed in using technology, more so as a great source of entertainment and probably indulging for a break. And I've not seen much of that active use in our industry when it comes to the event industry as much as one can, especially when it comes to running the organization. That aspect we have still not got into. We may be using technology to run our shows and
Right.
on floor. Technically, we have become far more superior in terms of the use of sound and light and LED and graphics and all of that. But when it comes to running our organizations, I feel as an industry, we are not able to scale up and grow to the extent where other industries have parallelly done. And for that, I really blame ourselves not being able to go out there and probably learn. We don't have time.
No. So I think realizing that itself is half the battle won. That that there is a lacuna there.
Yes.
What I would do is I would hire a young person,
Okay.
and that person's role would only be and nothing else. Find how technology can be leveraged in my business. Google has some 10 free AI programs that everybody can learn from. Now get that person to start taking online programs only on technology, and maybe have a weekly session with the team. That while all of us are doing it the traditional way, let that person come and say, okay, let me try experimenting doing this aspect with technology. I think you know that there is a gap. Just get somebody in the team whose only role is to disrupt the conventional thinking by using technology. And let that person have a 3-4 month learning curve. There are lots of online programs on AI. I'm sure if you start doing AI in event management, you will get a list. Pick up what is relevant and let that person start experimenting on this. I'm sure scripting, design, every aspect, everything will be there. Just have to put ourselves out there.
I want to now go to one interesting story, which you have narrated many a times, but I'm sure there are many of my listeners and viewers who may not have come across it, which is the story of the shutter.
Yes.
And I just found it so amazing. I felt like I was pulling the shutter up because coincidentally, my first office also was a 100 square feet space, and we had to pull the shutter up. And
No. It's my favorite story, and I love narrating it. And in case I forget, like you're reminding me today, people always bring it up and say, "Can you please talk about your shutter story?" And somebody has actually gone to the extent and saying that when you give your shutter story, it's like we are opening the shutter of our minds, something like that.
True.
So I think it all goes with the fact that we all do certain repetitive tasks every day in life, not realizing that what those tasks are teaching us and how those elements impact the way you behave, the way you conduct yourself for the rest of your life. So this happened to me because of our first lab was on the ground floor, 800 square feet of space. I had to reach at 6:30 in the morning to open the shutter of the lab. And I would do this and open the shutter and then pull the shutter down at 8:30 at night. And this was my routine for a very long period of time. Over a period of time, I realized that there are certain things that I'm learning by just opening the shutter and pulling the shutter down every day. For example, I had to come at time today. This happened because of me having to open the shutter at 6:30 in the morning. That if I don't reach at 6:30, nothing else will happen after that. So punctuality became very important for me. That I have to reach at 6:30 no matter what. Second was that sense of ownership and accountability. Ownership and accountability is not given. It's something that you have to take. And that works for anything in life. I had the keys in my hand. So that sense of ownership of that key, the pride and the accountability that I can't lose these keys. And I have to go there at 6:30 and open the lock. That sense of ownership and accountability comes when you take it. Sense of humility. That when you reach on time and you open the locks, to open the shutter, you have to first bend down. And you have to then lift the shutter up. The shutter does not give a damn about what you did the previous day. You bend in front of me if you want to open me. So there is always something that is bigger than you in life, no matter where you are, what you have done. So you should make sure that you remain grounded. Every day is a new day, and the shutter is telling you that remain grounded, bend in front of me, and then lift me up. When you bend down to lift the shutter up, you must make sure that you have a strong back and you have strong shoulders. Because if you don't, you'll open the shutter one day, you'll open the shutter the second day, third day, you'll have a sprained back. So the shutter is teaching you to look after anything in life. First, look after yourself. If you look after yourself, then you can open the shutter every day. But if you don't, after third day, then you won't be able to open the shutter.
You won't be able to open it.
And similarly, if the shutter is well lubricated and well maintained, much easier to open the shutter than if it is not lubricated and maintained. In Mumbai, with the kind of monsoon, if it gets rusted, no matter how strong you are, if the shutter is not well aligned or lubricated, So whatever you are dependent on,
Yes.
first take care of yourself, but also take care of the things that you depend upon. So look, do that. Once the shutter is open, then you have to make sure that you can't do everything yourself. So we had Dashrath who would come in at 6:45 to do the jhadu katka. And then we had Sharad who would come in at 7 to set up the lab. So collaboration and teamwork. You know your job is coming in at 6:30. Dashrath is coming at 6:45. Sharad is coming at 7. And the first technician is coming at 7:15 so that you are ready at 7:30 for the first patient to walk in. So the art of collaboration, teamwork, delegation, all that you learned from that. What if you can't reach at 6:30 for some reason? So no matter what, work cannot stop. As you said, the show must go on.
Yes.
So you must have a backup plan. So who else can you entrust the keys with? Who else can have the ownership that you have? And in case you are not there, the shutter still opens at 6:30. So you are not well, you are traveling. So having a backup plan. And at the end of the day, when you're pulling the shutter down, this is pre-internet, pre-mobile phone era. How can you still remain accessible to your customers? So I would paint the shutter with a nice bright color, and in the middle I would just paint my residence number. That's it.
Oh my.
So if somebody came in after 8:30 and they wanted to still reach out to me, because our business sometimes needs emergency services.
Yes, totally.
So they still had my telephone number and they could still call me at home and I would still be accessible. So marketing, communication was another aspect that I learned. So these aspects then continued to help me throughout my journey. Just by opening a shutter, I could pick up so many different things. So think about what are those elements that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and how are they impacting you, and how can you just pick up those hints and just keep refining and improving upon them.
And how have you stayed clear of any kind of tragedy, a lot of which you and your colleagues see in your profession? How do you stay away from that impacting you, because you have a life beyond?
How? Probably, I guess, we all. So let me go back before starting Suburban.
Okay.
This is my life in Grant Medical College in JJ Hospital. As a pathologist, you are expected to do postmortems. So I must have done, in my 3 years, 700, 800, 900 postmortems. I lost count.
Oh my God.
For us, it was just another part of our job. You go into the morgue, there's a dead body lying there, you cut the body open, you analyze the organs, you give a diagnosis, and then you hand over the body back to the morgue and you tell the relatives, aap leke ja sakte ho. The relatives are anxiously waiting to take the body, crying, but you are doing your job. As long as you're doing your job well, I think that's what, maybe that was some training that we got.
Yes.
One particular incident that I love to talk about is two sisters came for their health checkup. One of the sister was not feeling well. So the other sister said, let's both go for a health checkup. So it's also about how you do what you do. It's not just about doing it, but also how you're doing it.
Okay.
So I was looking at the slide under the microscope and I realized that this looks like blood cancer. So I picked up the phone and I told the person who had that I want you to come back and I want to take your sample again. She asked why. I said, I just want to confirm something. So she came, gave a second sample and I confirmed it. So much so that I wanted to be absolutely sure. I took that case to a senior colleague of mine because that was very early in my career.
Okay.
So I went to my friend's lab. He saw it. He said, no, what you're thinking is right. Came back to my lab and I told her that I want you to come with your husband in the evening to meet me. She didn't ask too many questions, I think. They could not come the same day. They came the next day. And so I said, see, look, I have found something which I think is very early. I have also spoken to a friend of mine who attends to these problems. I've already taken the appointment for you. I've taken the liberty of doing that. I would suggest this is the condition. You go and see this person, and let's just take it from there. The other way was, I didn't do any of this.
Yeah.
I left the report on the registration counter. Patient came and picked up the report and went home and then made sense of it. The fact that I got personally involved with the patient, she did that. They went to this friend of mine who's the physician for that condition. He was trained at a premier institute in South India, and he knew the head of that place. He recommended that you go and see that person. So they took all this advice. She went and got a bone marrow transplant done. A condition in which after diagnosis, life expectancy is 3 to 6 months. It's 25 years. She is cured. She got a bone marrow transplant. The only thing that changed was her blood group, because you get a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
Her sister gave the bone marrow material, and she's cured.
Oh my God.
Not every story ends like this.
Yeah.
But I think it's how you deal with it. I think that is what differentiated us from anybody else. That
True.
My benchmark was, if this is good enough for my family,
Yeah.
only then is it good enough for my patient. So we have a bed on which you make the patient lie down. If I would not let my mother or my wife or my father lie on that bed, I would not let a patient lie on that bed. So if it was good enough for my parents or my family members, then I was okay. So that was the standard. So I would deal, and that's how, like I mentioned to you before we were talking, that my mother would say sometimes, that you call me as a patient, you will talk to me much better than you talk to me as a son. So for me, my profession is all consuming. It was what I did. And I'm fortunate that over the last 30 years, I've been able to build very good relationships with doctors, with patients, many of them who have become friends. Yesterday, I got a call from a very old patient of ours who said that, Sanjay, I'm not able to get an appointment. My mother's blood sugar is extremely high. Can you please help me? So I managed to get the appointment for her. Sugar was way out of control. This morning she sent me a message. Despite everything, she passed away. I could do what I could do, right? Beyond that, you can't.
You can't.
So I think it's about putting yourself in the shoes of the patient. So I think,
and doing 110%, and of course the rest is.
See, nobody comes to us in the profession we are because they want to come to us.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to us because they have to come to us.
Yeah.
I think if you acknowledge that I know why you are here and I'm here to take care of you, patients are fine generally. I think that approach needs to be there, that acknowledge the presence of the patient and make sure they know that you are there to take care of them. Patient will be fine.
You're actually helping us understand that, there's a way to deal with a patient, not treating them like a customer.
Yeah.
And empathy all the way. And then how do you deal with somebody who is overwhelmed and completely in gratitude because perhaps you made them survive much longer than what they had expected? Do these overwhelming stories also, can that get into your head and make you feel like Apunish Bhagwan hai?
I have this, what I build my own circle of success. And I'll tell you what this does to me.
Okay.
Every story is a celebration for me. It's a personal victory that I did my job well. And because you're doing that, it gives you a fresh source of inspiration. So inspiration is what you start every day with. That what is your motivation to get out of bed and go to work? There is some source of inspiration.
Yes.
You follow that up with perspiration. That you can't just do inspiration and think everything. You have to work hard. So inspiration, perspiration. But if you don't stick the course and you give up easily, you have to remain dedication. So inspiration, perspiration, dedication. But today, as we spoke earlier, is the world of technology. If you don't innovate and you stay on that same path, you will get run over easily. So you have to do innovation. And if you do innovation with people, you do collaboration. And if you do if you do these steps, you will end up with some element of celebration. And every celebration gives you a fresh cycle of inspiration. So rather than it making me feel I'm too good, it gives me a fresh source of inspiration. That how can I do things even better tomorrow? And that is the motivation that made me go to work every day. Simple example. I used to love collecting blood of the patients myself. You can never say that I have perfected that. It's an art. Because every individual has a different type of vein.
Yes.
Some middle, some on the side.
True.
Everybody has a different perception of pain. Everybody has a different perception of anxiety. Arey, itna khoon le rahe ho, dukhega ye sab. I am like that. You can never say that this was my best blood collection ever. Your best blood collection is the one which you've still not done. You can make out the way you put the needle and immediately the patient will make the face and you know that was not good. And if the patient says, ho gaya kya? Then you know you've done a good job. And if you let that get to your head, the next one patient will then get, Arey yaar, bahut dukha mere ko. Immediately you're back on ground. So when you go and open the shutter the next day, it doesn't care how many patients you treated the previous day. Today is a fresh day. You bend in front of me. So it makes you, as long as you remain humble, I think you remain on ground. I think that's what is important. That don't let success get to your head.
Yes.
At the same time, there will be days when things will not go your way. Try and not let failure also get to your head.
Yeah.
We tend to cling on to the failure a lot more sometimes. And I do that. And we are self-critical.
Oh, yes.
I think if you're conscious about being conscientious, if you know that you did your best job and still things didn't go well, think about what you could have done better. But don't try and not. I was very hard on myself. I still am. I think that's something which also we have to learn, that you have to keep that balance. And I never take work home which is related to patients. I will never go and discuss cases at home. It's a privacy that I also have to maintain. My younger daughter would ask me, Aditi, how many slides did you see? Did you see any interesting cases? I would discuss that, but never names of patients or anything like that. It's a deliberate attempt to make sure that I don't disclose anything.
Okay.
Indian culture is so nice. What do you do when you come home? The first thing you do.
You don't want to know what I do.
No,
I check my phone.
You check your phone?
I'm very bad.
Drink
water, take off
your shoes.
Yeah.
So tomorrow onwards, when you're taking off your shoes, make that process a little more deliberate. When you're taking off one shoe, you're telling, okay, this part of my work is over.
Oh my God.
When you take off the second shoe, you say, that part of my work is over. So you're deliberately telling yourself that I'm transitioning from my work day, which was wearing shoes, and I'm now going to walk bare feet, which is my personal time. Walking bare feet is different than wearing shoes. I'm taking off my work shoes and I'm entering home. Transition that. If you're driving a car, you're putting the keys onto the hook. I'm parking my day today on the hook. And it's time to not. And I'll pick up that keys and I'll restart when I go back tomorrow. I'll wear my shoes tomorrow again. So you're deliberately telling yourself to transition from work to home and home to work. People say working from home.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm one of those people who just cannot agree to it. You know what that people used to say, no, I don't need to travel to work.
Yeah.
But think about it. When you leave home and you go to work, that transition time is the only time which you have only for yourself. And similarly, from work to home, again, that time is only for yourself. Otherwise, at home, you're with people. At work, you're with people.
Yes.
Where is time for self? And that ability to transition from home to work and work to home is lost. Sometimes, of course, too much traffic, of course, is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to find that how do you give yourself an opportunity to transition and keep that gap between work and home and work?
But I'll tell you something, Doc, in the space of events, unfortunately, we are not allowed to give ourselves that break. We're made to feel like we're doing something wrong and that we are not responsible as planners because the work follows us. So much so that it follows us till our bed because the clients take liberty to message us. There are very few like you who've always checked and always scheduled something. 99.9% of the clientele and our industry actually suffers from this to a great extent where we are not able to draw the line. And at unfair hours of 11 p.m. also you will see wedding planners answering calls, decorators answering calls, and being available because they want to give the client the feeling that I understand this is the most important day of your life. But in the bargain, I think we have started suffering in a great way. And we all discuss this when we meet at different conventions, but we've not been able to solve it. And I just feel that it's painful.
So I think Hemant and you have been planning to have this session with me at my office.
Yes.
We'll do this. What you need to do is list out the 100 reasons why your clients reach out to you. List out the 100 reasons.
Okay.
Whatever it is, decor was not finalized.
Or they are free at that time, or they are having a family get together at that time.
Whatever. List out every reason.
Okay.
Right. And try and ask the team to list it out in terms of incidents. That the one which is the most common on top, and then by number of frequency of those incidents. So you go top to bottom, number of incidents. I'll answer this a slightly different way.
Sure.
While every business is important, I think health perhaps takes precedence in some ways.
Yeah.
Because it's life and death.
Yes.
I would not like to call up any of my team members after working hours. But it's not that I didn't ever do that.
Sure.
Or it's not that doctors or patients never reached out to me at work. Whenever that happened, I would ask myself, what did I not do correctly during working hours that left a gap for people to reach out to me after working hours? So if a report was not complete before 9 p.m. only then will they reach out to me.
Right.
If the report was complete but they didn't get their email on time, then they will reach out to me. If they asked for 10 tests and only 9 got done, 1 was left out, then they will reach out to me. If they got the report but they were not sure about the values, then they will reach out to me. So you figure out why are people reaching out to you after work. And I would tell my team the same thing.
Okay.
That I'm calling you. I'm sorry, Dr. XYZ or Miss XYZ or Mr. XYZ. I'm reaching out to you because this was pending during working hours. I hate calling you at home, but because this is pending, I'm compelled to reach out to you after working hours. You get my point?
Yes, I do.
Try and think what aspects of the reasons people reach out to you could be managed during working hours so that the reason to call you becomes less.
Okay. I'm going to actually work on this. Fair.
Second, we just spoke about it earlier. Throw technology at the problem. If there are 20 common reasons that people reach out to you, can you get a chatbot? And chatbots today are becoming better and better and better.
Yes.
Can you start getting basic questions answered through technology? And then maybe by rotation, this week is your duty and nobody else gets disturbed. Next week is your duty and nobody else gets disturbed. Instead of everybody being available for everybody at all the time.
Yes.
First, identify why people are reaching out to you. Create processes to see how much of that can be finished during working hours.
Right.
Deploy technology to manage as much as you can. And then have maybe one person per week who will then, all calls will get diverted to that person. So any calls after that, somebody is available. But doesn't mean everybody needs to be available. And still if it doesn't get, you are there. It's not that you're not there. But you're creating 3-4 filters before it reaches you. So you have to think,
Interesting.
What can you do better in terms of processes so that the demand? See, we become very self-obsessed. Arey, everything is coming to me. I need to solve it. Is that good or bad?
Point.
The less that comes to you,
Yes.
then you're doing a good job. The best compliment for a leader
Yeah.
is when they are not needed.
Yeah. You mentioned this.
Yes.
You have.
How do you enable your team? How do you enable systems and processes to make you redundant? If you become redundant, if nobody wants to speak to Mareesha, Mareesha should feel good about it and not bad. कि doc is calling Harsh. He's not calling me. मेरे कुछ value नहीं है क्या? अरे, Harsh is doing such a good job that I can manage 10 Dr. Aroras tomorrow. That is your role. Rather than saying everything needs to come to me. So we'll work on this. If it can be done in healthcare, I'm sure it can be done in events.
Yes. You have a far more responsible.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's about identifying. It's about throwing data and figuring out. Get somebody to say, okay, fine, what are the 100 reasons we get called after working hours? And working hours should be defined at not after 12.
No,
so after 9, for example, right?
Yeah.
How many calls do we get after 9?
After 9.
And why do we get these calls? Now, monsoon season is your time to sharpen the axe.
Yes.
Because less work at that time.
Less work.
Use that monsoon season to do this kind of internal work of sharpening the axe. And identifying what can we do better in season. Off season is to prepare for the season. So again, use data.
Tell me how much of using of data helped you understand how to go through this entire process of scaling your business and eventually getting the valuation that everyone can only dream of. 950 crores. I don't know why. I would not even be able to fathom how you must have reacted the day that happened.
So let me ignore that data part. The number part and focus on the data. True story. Patient comes to me and he's a IIT IIM graduate, brilliant guy. Comes to me and says, Doc, kaise hai meri reports? So I sit with him and I discuss. He was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s at that time. And I said, the sugar is not in control and ye sab karna hai. And we became good friends over a period of time because he would come and spend 10 minutes with me.
Okay.
Over a period of time, he asked me, Doc, show me your reports. I said, मैंने तो कुछ टेस्ट वेस्ट किया ही नहीं. He said, मैं वो reports की बात नहीं कर रहा. I'm talking about your MIS. So I said, what is MIS? He said, क्या है यार? You are running a business or you are क्या कर क्या रहे हो तुम? I said, I don't know what MIS is. And he explained that if you don't know how your business is performing, how are you going to take decisions on whether it's working or not working? You know, I came from a background, Mareesha, where my highest salary was 5,700 rupees when Anju and I got married as a lecturer. So for me, you know, that was the height. So if I was to take home 40,000 rupees, that was like, wow. So that's where I came from, right? So for me, it didn't really matter, but that's not the right way to do it. So he was the first person who said that you must have visibility on data, that you must have a monthly P&L made, no matter the size of the company, no matter the size of the business. How a public limited company is compelled to do it because they have to show that data to public.
Sure.
Why we cannot imbibe good practices at the starting? If you can't do it in-house, now there are people who will come and help you analyze your data and give you a P&L. You must. So that was the first time I ever got told that it's important to look at data. That what is your revenue, what is your cost, how much are you spending on people, how much are you spending on raw material, how much is your profitability, what is your surplus cash, are you managing cash flows well, do you have bank reserves? All those things came to me very late. Financial governance is extremely important in any business. financial literacy, let me put it that way. It is
Actually.
very important for every founder to be financially literate.
Hmm.
And that is something which came to me very late in life. Till date, I find it difficult to look at a P&L, to look at spreadsheets. But I have to do it if I have to run a business, right?
Right.
And over a period of time, we got people in the finance function, in sales and marketing, in operations, CXO level, who only knew how to run businesses through a financial. So it complemented well with the way I ran business with them. And
Nice.
that's how you sort of bridge the gap. It's very important that you have visibility on how your organization is performing. You have key metrics, and you can define what those key metrics are. For example, how many events per month do we do? What is average revenue per event? What's the cost of the team? What's the profitability? Whatever. I mean, you can put your metrics down. You'll know it. It's just that you're not looking at it objectively. It's very important for you to do this. By the 7th of every month, you must know how your previous month was, so that you have the remaining month to calibrate your actions
and take corrective actions.
Absolutely. That's what I learned.
Most of us are so consumed in just servicing, the part of today.
Data is so important. Customer feedback.
Yes.
We analyze customer feedback now. Who's liking what, who's not liking what. And I only tell, no matter how large the customer service team was, any feedback on customer service always came to me as well. So I would look at only the complaints. And I would see why people are complaining, what is going wrong, what can we do. So we had something called as CAPA, corrective action, preventive action. So you first correct, but you also prevent. And every corrective action must be shared with the entire team, because you don't want everybody else to make the same mistake.
True.
So you talk about it and you share that with people. So corrective action, preventive action, financial literacy, having a P&L that you look at, sharing data with your team, at least key stakeholders. That how did we perform last month? How did we perform same month last year? Are we growing or not growing? All that is so important, and that's how the team also feels that they have a stake in the company, right?
Totally. And that's how you actually build on the value of the company, something that you have always insisted.
So no, that is the valuation that you're talking about. I'm saying the value is what you do. So if Swaha is doing events, right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't look at an event and think, how will it get me valuation? Valuation is an outcome of doing that. But do such good events like you did for me and my family, that if I ever had to think of an event, I would only think of you. If I had to recommend anybody, I would recommend you. That's the way. That's by building the value.
Yeah.
Preference. How do you build preference among clutter? There's so much of choice today.
Totally.
Value is building preference. Why would anybody choose to work with you and not anybody else? That is the bottom line today.
That requires so much of time to be able to step back from your daily routine of running a business to be able to evaluate this. You definitely had hired the right people to help you in going through this entire process, or you did this yourself?
No.
I
think hiring the right people is a misnomer. I mean, you go through your iterations. It's not a perfect solution.
There isn't, right?
No, absolutely not. I think it's an iterative process, and you keep learning and you keep getting better at it. But I mean, this can be a 1-hour conversation only on hiring people. But happy to do that, separately.
True.
But I think, like I said earlier, that knowing your strengths, hiring for the weaknesses that you have by getting people better than you in that functions.
True.
Giving people ownership and accountability.
Yeah.
Giving people a career path. So are you hiring for a job or are you hiring for a career? The big difference in that. And most industries today, people don't work with you for a long period of time.
Yes.
Define what you think is an adequately good period. 5 years is good. Define a career path and show the people what that career path is. Can you get people who are aspirational to be where you and Hemant are? And that is your role. Because, see, you are at the top, right?
Yeah.
The only way for you to grow is the team from below pushes you up.
True.
There's nobody above you who's going to pull you up.
Right.
So, the only way for you to grow is to make sure that people are aspirational for where you are. The moment they push you, they come where you are, you automatically get pushed up. So, to get people to reach where you are, you have to create that step ladder that this is your career progression path. In 7 years, you can be where I am. These are the things that you need to do. If you have that vision, and if I am a team member and I know I can be where Hemant and Mareesha are today and I have to do these things, maybe I'll just follow that path and not wanting to go here and there everywhere.
Yeah.
So career progression, hiring for a career rather than just a job, investing in people, investing in their growth. These are all ways to, build the right team. But it's easier said than done.
But who is the one who kind of motivated you to get into, say, the valuation game? Who played that central role in your life in that phase for you to have the courage to go about the entire process? Because it is an ordeal. It is challenging. Take us through that.
So I've been fortunate to, have a great circle of family and friends who've always been supportive. So I think my core family continues to play probably the biggest support role that I have.
Yeah.
My father has probably been the biggest motivator, mentor, a person who's literally wind beneath my wings, always, made sure that, if I had some challenge, he was there to help me go through it. I have a dear friend who was, when we were living in 7 bungalows, we used to travel by the same bus to Andheri station. And Manish used to work, he eventually started working in a large investment bank. So he was always an investment banker and I was his doctor, and we would have this interesting conversations. When he became a very large investment banker, he told me something that when you want to raise capital, private equity or venture capital is the most expensive form of capital. So think about that last. And whenever you want to raise money, explore all other options of raising capital before you reach venture capital or private equity. That was my first lesson. Once you do that, ensure that you dilute as little as late. So if you have 100% equity, dilute whatever minimum that you need. Don't over dilute. So dilute as little as late. Making sure you get the right partner on board. And then, I guess, if you continue doing what you're doing. So when we exited, the same company who acquired our stake had offered us a similar opportunity 15 years before that at less than 1% of that value. I think at that time we knew that perhaps that's not the right time. When we reached the stage where we did, I think we realized that perhaps this is a fair valuation. I've done this for close to 29-30 years. It's been all consuming. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to think of life 2.0. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to look at healthcare from a different lens. And look at the future of how I want to be involved in healthcare. So that was the reason that I thought, okay, perhaps it's good time to take a step back and then restart.
And restart indeed. Literally, I think for me, Doc, the name The Show Must Go On is your restart. Because if I had got that kind of valuation, probably I would be holidaying, chilling, and I would have thought that that's now time for me to retire. But that's just not you as a person. Don't judge me for deciding to go on a holiday. But yeah, I think it's too flattering to get that kind of valuation. And I would want to really not want to do anything in life.
It's
what motivates you to still go on and want to?
I think you lose that, the aura of that very quickly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
how long has it been now? When did you make your exit?
Almost 3 years. Yeah.
And for how much time did you bask in the glory? Like.
No. So
I hope you did bask in the glory.
So we signed on in November 21.
Okay.
And we continued in that same role till March of 22.
Sure.
April 22, I moved to the parent company as a full-time role
Okay.
until June of 23. June of 23 is when I exited from the full-time role, but I remained on the board of Suburban till March of 24. And it's only now since April 24 that I'm completely out of it. But I sort of partially exited by June of 23 to build my family office and look at what I want to do in future.
Okay.
And I think now I found that calling where I'm looking at the whole opportunity in elder care, in geriatrics, and how I can do that. But also in parallel, working with my daughters, who one accidentally in healthcare, one by design in healthcare.
True.
So I'm, in a way, they don't have the pressure that they have to follow in my footsteps. They can chart their own destiny. So it's both ways to look at it, that if they had the platform of Suburban, would it have been easier or not? Perhaps it would have, perhaps not. But at the same time, they are able to chart their own destiny. So I'm able to help both of them now and work with them to build their life in the future. And at the same time, explore a little bit of my own personal passions. Recording a podcast with dear friends,
having your own podcast,
creating content,
yes,
working on elder care.
Yeah. Tell me a little more about elder care. I'm really curious.
Yeah. So India has the youngest, is one of the youngest young population. In the world, India has the largest number of those people.
Yes.
But that's not going to remain that way, right?
Yeah.
Over the next 10, 15, 20 years, all those people will become old. And 30 years from now, about 20% of our population will be above the age of 60. Now, if we look at 150 crores, that's more than 30 crore of people who will be above the age of 60. And that is an opportunity to see where we can create impact out there. So we're trying to set the framework around. So the way I look at it is that everybody says live long.
Yeah.
I'm saying live well. There is lifespan and then there is health span, and there's a gap between the two. We continue to live longer, but the living better stops at a particular point, and then there's this gap between your health span and lifespan where you're just existing.
Yeah.
My objective is to bridge this gap, is to make sure that the gap between your lifespan and health span keeps coming down and your health span keeps improving, so that however long you live, you continue to live better. And that is my objective of elder care, is to make sure that you improve the quality of life, not just the quantity. That's the objective of elder care. It's early days, just thinking about it, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to add some value there.
I'm definite you will be able to, and I truly have to say this. I salute you for your passion to want to do something and genuinely not take a backseat and look at the next best opportunity where you can make an impact. And I think the kind of reach you have, the kind of relationships that you have built, that is eventually just going to help you give back to the society. And I don't think there's anything more.
No, I think that's
internally satisfying.
No, you hit it on the head, that giving back to society. I think when you get so much, you have to just express gratitude that you've been blessed to be where you are. And you have to show gratitude for the blessings that you have received. And one way is to see how you can give back in whatever way you can. I think you're doing it in your own way by inviting people and getting people to share their failures and success.
Totally.
So that people can get inspired by that. I mean, this is again your way of giving back.
Absolutely.
So
I think for me, honestly, the name The Show Must Go On, the thought was really simple, that today we felt that people are kind of giving up too easily because they keep seeing too many things around them. They're not able to find contentment. And this could just be a way to pull yourself up and say, hey, if this didn't work, there's something else. And if this worked, maybe there's something even better out there. And to keep going on and not stopping.
No, I think we are just so spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
And there's so much of distraction. There's so much of information overload.
Yes.
Sometimes we just have to put some filters and take a step back and think.
Yeah.
I think, are we just over distracted? Are we just,
True.
Is there too much of stimulation? We are in this world of instant gratification.
Yes.
Everything needs to be right now. We're just not enjoying the moment of it all.
Very true.
Nobody sits back and says, let me listen to the song completely, instead of saying, how many songs can I listen to in 5 minutes?
So true. Actually, that's a race we are in.
Yeah.
That's a race we are in.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm doing a lot of recording, so there are times when the team says, okay, you have to finish saying this in less than 60 seconds because that tends to work better on Insta. Imagine the pressure, because you're not focusing on what you're speaking. It's more about completing the content within that time frame.
I can so relate to that. And I've become I can speak a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
And then my team also has to tell me, Doc, please don't blabber so much. Now they're saying 30 seconds.
I know.
Now people are saying 10 seconds. I said, what do you want me to do? Just and stop like that, I mean, like, hello. So I have a story to tell.
No.
Yeah, tell a story in 10 seconds. So, okay, I'll try.
Oh God. But one thing you can definitely do in less than 30 seconds is probably think of a song at least. We may take a minute and I'll see, dekhte kaun hame rokta hai. But think of a song that comes to your mind when we talk about the show must go on.
Now, of course, the song by the same name by the band Queen.
Yes.
It's a brilliant song. But there are some songs that stay with you forever. So there's this band which stopped playing in the early 80s.
Okay.
This band is called Supertramp. It's a British band. And there's a song called From Now On. Which is just so creatively acoustically designed, and vocals and lyrics, and it's got a great mix of instrumentation and vocals. Probably it was recorded in 1976-77.
Okay.
It's still probably one of my all-time favorite songs.
Really?
And I guess it also puts those ... at the end. From now on, meaning you just continue from now on. It doesn't end. You just put that ...
My God, that's what your life is and shall be from now on. Keep inspiring us. I'm not going to say Dr. Sanjay Arora, but really, I've enjoyed this heartfelt conversation with you.
I enjoyed sharing this with you, Mareesha. I don't think anybody else could have brought it out the way you did. So thank you for having me over today.
Thank you.
Great.